When tomato transplanting in the field, you should plow the field to a fine tilth by giving 1 to 2 plowing. You should then open furrows in the recommended spacing if you intend to grow tomatoes in the field. Pre-soaking your field by irrigating it 2 days before transplanting. Cool, cloudy days are the best for transplanting tomatoes into the field. Home garden. Gardeners should plant in the morning to keep tomatoes from drying or suffering during the process. Tomatoes are ready for transplanting into the garden when the seedlings are 3 to 4 inches tall and the nighttime temperatures are consistently above 50 degrees. First, you remove the plant from its pots or inspect the roots. Place the plant in a prepared hole. Firm the soil around the plant with your hands. Water well. Transplant your tomato a second time for better root growth. A tomato plant can be repotted 2 or 3 times before it's transplanted in the garden, each time with more of its stem buried. This technique helps the plants develop a sturdy structure of roots, perfect or supporting hefty tomato plants. Choose healthy plants that are 10 to 12 inches tall. Dig your hole about 12 inches deep for each plant and work a handful of good fertilizer into the hole. The three main things that tomatoes need to thrive are sun, nutrient, dense soil, and support. Support comes from a combination of a deep root system as well as good support structure that keeps your fruit off the ground and allows lots of airflow. Never directly fertilize a newly planted perennials. Ideally, the plant should not need fertilizer in subsequent weeks because it has been placed in enriched garden soil where the necessary nutrients are already in place and available to the plant once the root hairs start to grow. Ideal temperatures for tomato growth are 70 to 85 degrees during the day and 65 to 70 degrees at night. Significantly higher or lower temperature can have negative effects on fruit sets, and quality. The tomato is a self-pollinated plant and outdoor can be effectively pollinated by wind current. Tomatoes planted too closely together may be more likely to develop problems such as disease. A lot of plant diseases flourish on moist leaves. Tomato plants require a good amount of these resources. So if they are planted closely together, they will compete and likely are lost. Better the tomato field to be dug and or transplanted the day before you plan to lift them. This ensures that the whole plant will be hydrated, root, leaves and all. When it's time to transplant, make it a good deep soaking so the roots can take up as much as water possible. Because the plants will have a better, stronger root system. This goes against everything you ever heard about don't plant too deep or you will kill the plant. Tomatoes break that rule because they actually have the ability to sprout additional roots along the buried stem. After transplanting, you will start to see the fruit appear within 65 to 70 days. A fully ripe tomato will be softer than the unripe ones. Ripeness also varies with each variety of tomatoes, but most tomatoes will be ready for harvest by late summer and planted in early spring. Farming is becoming a lucrative venture in many parts of Africa. Use small scale greenhouse farming to increase tomato yield and profits. Tomatoes that are grown in greenhouse can yield more than 30 kg per square meter. Tomatoes that are grown outdoors give lower yield of up to 62 ton per acre. Tomatoes cultivation is one of the most profitable agriculture businesses It is an excellent option for those looking to harvest a commercially important crops 4 times a year. The total duration of tomato commercial cultivation is about 110 to 140 days. However, yielding starts after 50 to 60 days of sowing. Like most vegetables, tomato prefer to grow in the same place every year. So plant in the same spot unless you have had a disease problem. Companion planting can help tomatoes grow. Tomatoes are compatible with chives, onion, parsley, marigold, and carrot. If your nursery beds are covered with mulch, pull it back in early spring to expose the soil to the sun's warmth. Placing a sheet of clear plastic over the bed will also help. The soil in containers and raised beds warm up faster than garden soil, so they are ideal for heat lovers like tomatoes. You can grow tomatoes and peppers together, although it's important to bear in mind that growing plant members of the nightshade or solanaceae families together can increase the risk that disease will spread amongst them, especially if they are grown in the same bed after each other. Tomato plant will only last a year in most vegetable gardens. As soon as it gets cold and freezes, the tomato plants will die. In places where the temperature never falls below 60 degrees or when indeterminate tomatoes are grown indoors, they are short-lived perennials that will last for 2 years. Tomato plant in particular lend itself easily to cutting propagation because even the cells in its stem can become roots. Starting tomato plant from cutting comes in handy when you are pursuing someone else's garden and they have a particular tomato plants that you admire. Healthy tomato plants grow rapidly in the right conditions, but if some factor is not to the plant's liking, its growth will slow or stop. Tomato plants that stop growing might be suffering from disease or insect infestation, or that they may simply need pruning or a dose of nutrients. While various fungi and bacteria can attack a plant and cause its demise, wilted leaves may simply be an infection indication of a common problem with an easy fix. Give your tomato plants 1 inch of water each week. With any less, they will wilt. Water wilting plants to revive them quickly. Fungal infections are the most likely culprits if your tomato plants have lower leaves that are beginning to wilt and die. Possible fungal infections include fusarium wilt, early blight, late blight, or septoria leaf spot. Although these each present with different symptoms, all tend to affect the lower leaves first. Thanks for watching. Allah Hafiz.